green. Subject is D54493, female, 23 years of age. Average physique. Subject's background shows instance of grand theft auto and second-degree murder of 2 children during escape with vehicle. Subject is cooperative in all steps of testing. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-93, which had emitted a green color. Outside technicians observed that the mirror retained a true reflection until subject had completely passed into it, at which time the view changed to a farming landscape, heavily tinged in green. Similar to the first test, video feed follows in attached media. And again, you will not be seeing anything, I will be describing it. Camera activates, flickers to view. Subject is looking out over the same farmland reported by technicians. All greens through the video feed are deeper, and green tinge overlays the normal colors of objects similar to the blue tinge in Test 1. No landmarks from Test 1 are discernible as subject pans camera over the area. Present is a field, long abandoned, in the middle of which stands the remains of a scarecrow of unknown design. Fragments left are rotted and torn. Nothing grows in the tilled land. A farmhouse is visible to the right of the field, large, 2 stories. A basement shelter entrance is visible at one end. Subject prepares her sidearm immediately and is asked by control to relax before proceeding, her heavy breathing dominating the audio feed. Subject takes a few minutes and announces that she is fine, and then proceeds as directed to walk the perimeter of the farmhouse. Children's bicycles, 2. A boy and a girl's lay against the house near the shelter doors. One of the doors to the shelter lay in the grass, torn from the entrance, as evidenced by splintering wood. On the stairs lay clothes, arranged in a descending order, shoes to shirt going down them, belonging to a boy. Subject begins screaming at Control, asking if this is some sort of sick joke. Control assures her that they have never seen this environment either, and to please calm down. Subject takes several minutes to regain herself before continuing. It is unknown if SCP-93 is linking the subject's past with her landscape. After several minutes, subject agrees to continue. Communication to subject is muted, and conversation of Control making commentary about subject's jittery attitude make up audio for 1.5 minutes. Communication is restored, and subject reaches bottom of stairs. The cellar of the farmhouse is unremarkable and typical. Several wooden shelves line the far wall, containing unidentified canned substances. Broken light fixtures sway gently from the support beams. Camera is panned across the basement slowly. No evidence of footprints are visible, and the basement can be assumed to have been abandoned for some time. Subject begins to comment about a stench. As subject pans the area, a metal hatch is visible into the ground, similar to a bulkhead on a submarine with a turn handle. Subject remarks that the smell is at its worst around the hatch, and the dirt around the hatch is noted as being clumped and clay-like. The handle of the hatch is old and the paint is chipped. Subject coerced into touching the handle, which, when fully turned, opens the hatch. Subject begins coughing at the release of assumed old stale air. When camera is tilted to view down the hatch, it is a white concrete tunnel, similar to the one found in the blue experiment, but in much better condition. Subject asked to descend ladder and close hatch behind her. After some convincing, subject agrees to descend, but does not close the hatch. Overlooked concerns about severing the pulley return system in doing so are acknowledged. Descent down the ladder and trip to the farmhouse has consumed approximately 53 meters of cable when bottom is reached. Inside of the hatch appears to be a bunker, ill-suited to long-term usage. It is spacious, about half the size of the actual cellar itself, containing 3 bunks, 1 for a couple and 2 for single use. Several boxes of food similar to those found during Blue, marked as cereal, fill a waste container near the hatch bottom. On the beds are 2 skeletons, and on the floor is a third, lying next to which is a simple 6-shooter revolver containing no ammunition. 3 spent casings are across the floor near the gun. On the other side of the skeleton is a bound book in good condition. This is retrieved and placed into a field kit container upon request. The gun is left alone per request from Control. Subject examines more of the bunker, focusing on a desk where a newspaper has been cut and is in good condition. The The clipped articles are recovered using a field kit container. Little else of interest to be brought back is in the bunker, as the camera is panned around. Trash bags containing clothing, a few children's toys resembling popular 1950s era products are lined against the wall. Subject is requested to leave the bunker and then sharply asked to wait by a control technician who directs the camera view to an area near the exiting doorway to the hatch. Closer inspection as subject moves in finds that a small area has been fitted with what appears to be an Ethernet jack, the cover of which has been forced slightly away from the wall by a strange amber-like substance. Subject refuses to touch or collect a sample, commenting that it stinks so bad. If they want it, they can come and get it themselves. Control declines, and the subject leaves the bunker. As subject grips ladder to leave, the camera pans up for a moment, and at the top of the tunnel, a humanoid figure is seen peering down. Control asks subject to confirm figure. Subject states nothing is up there and begins to climb. Figure draws out of camera view after first rung is touched by subject, who ascends without incident. At the top of the tunnel, no other life is seen. Nothing has been disturbed. Subject insists nothing was there and closes the hatch, then immediately vomits. Subject coughs and uses a supplied water bottle to gargle, then freezes and asks if Control is hearing that. Control reports no audio. Subject approaches cellar hatch cautiously with a firearm drawn and lifts her head just enough so camera can view outside area. In the distance, approximately 700 meters from farm, two massive humanoid beings are crawling across the landscape. The entities do not notice the subject, who remains quiet, but whose drawn sidearm is visibly trembling. Subject requested to remain still and silent as beings move. They are featureless, facing at an angle, moving across the field of vision so the faces are only visible for a few moments. During this time, it is clear they have no facial features. The arms they use to drag themselves are short at times and long at others, stretching out to varying lengths each time they move. There is no rear area to the beings. All bodily design appears to end at the torso. The two creatures take approximately 10 minutes to disappear into the distance before the subject begins to panic and begs to return. Request declined. Subject instructed to enter the home from the cellar and not to leave the home under any circumstances. The first floor is entered through a hatch in the ceiling floor that opens with rusty creaks that cause subject to pause for 37 seconds before continuing upward and entering a kitchen. A heavy layer of dust coats all items in the kitchen. The refrigerator is left open, all food is spoiled. Adjacent to the kitchen is a living area that subject enters slowly. There is a recliner, couch, television of all 1950s style design. In the recliner is a laptop whose case resembles a 1950s decor and is coated in heavy dust. Opening the laptop reveals the last moments of its operating system, Faithful OS, leaving a standby mode and immediately shutting off. Laptop has no external power source and will not power back on. When asked to recover the laptop, it brings the cushion of the recliner with it, the two stuck together. Subject advised to leave the laptop where it is. The inside door leaving the home is nailed shut with thick wood planks. No attempt made to interact with these. Camera view pans to a staircase leading upstairs. Subject ascends the stairs without being asked, and the stairs remain silent to Control's surprise. When subject reaches top of the stairs, a hallway with two doors is viewed, one on each side. At the end of the hall, a dumbwaiter is inlaid into the wall. Subject opens door on left on her own, which opens to a master bedroom. The bed is neatly made, but the wardrobe next to it is thrown open, and clothes are everywhere on the floor. Subject finds laid out on the bed several pieces of jewelry and is informed to leave them. Subject begins to protest, then comments they stink and leaves them alone. Promptly leaving the room, subject is asked to open second door. The second door opens and gives a view of a shared children's bedroom, obviously boy and girl, given the types of toys and clothes scattered on the floor. There is also a window, which subject approaches and wipes with a curtain to clear dust. Subject requested to move camera to window and does so. The farmland is visible, approximately 40 kilometers from it, at best guess, a city. As the camera starts to draw back, it pans down and films the area around the house. Approximately 300 figures, similar to those from the footage captured during Blue Test, are visible around the home, all staring up. The subject asked to confirm figures, but states nothing is there. Subject requested to return and quickly agrees. Egress from the house is uneventful. Pulley system shows no erratic behavior. As subject returns to point of pulley wire's origin, a loud groaning noise causes the picture to reverberate. Technicians at control report they were also able to hear the noise and experience the vibration. Subject returns through point of origin without investigation, and mirror returns to reflective surface. SCP-93 relinquished. Video ends. Return newspaper fragments filed as... Next, we are moving on to Mirror Test 3, color violet. Subject is D84930, male, 21 years of age, average physique. Subject's background shows instance of second-degree murder of a police officer during a drug bust. Normally this crime, while severe, would not qualify a person for a sentence that would end up with us, but the murder of the officer was especially brutal, and excessive violence was used. This subject was uncooperative and had to be reminded that his cooperation would only benefit him. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-93, which emitted a violet color. Outside technicians observed that the mirror retained a true reflection until subject had completely passed into it, at which time the view changed to a cityscape, urban, lightly tinged in purple, similar to the first test. Video feed follows in attached media. By now, you know the drill. Camera flickers to life and pans around the area. Subject is in what appears to be a modern downtown district, similar to a city like New York. The streets are mostly bare, except for a few cars of unknown make or model. These cars look highly advanced and streamlined. Subject attempts to look into car windows without being instructed, but backs away, remarking there is a rank-ass stank coming from the areas around most of them. Subject is persuaded to move closer to one car and does so with coughing, wiping off a window which is covered in dirt. The inside of the car appears to be completely filled with a strange brown matter. There is nothing at all visible other than the brown matter. The other two cars produce the same results. However, a fourth vehicle seems more recent than the others, and the insides are immaculate. The doors to this vehicle are also unlocked, and the subject gets quickly inside and shuts the doors. Subject is chastised for his behavior by control, who reminds him his lifeline is nothing more than a cable, which is sturdy enough that closing a car door does not injure it, but they cannot recover a person in motion. Subject argues with control over this issue and pans the camera across the dashboard, pointing out he couldn't drive away even if he tried. The dashboard is void of any recognizable controls, no ignition, no steering. It has several small blank screens that are theorized to be a GPS system. Subject remains in the car while control discusses how to proceed, since the cityscape is far larger than the previous test destinations. Control debates this issue while subject stares around the cityscape from the car. During one pan, a face is clearly seen staring into the car, eyes watching the subject. However, this was not noticed until post-test footage review. Subject made no comment regarding this entity at any point. Control shortly after informs the subject to remain where he is, and an escort team is dispatched through the mirror to join him. A team of 4 armed personnel is sent through the mirror and proceeds to subject's location. Subject is instructed to remove his harness, which is recovered. This subject's video feed then ends and is replaced by a wireless unit by the escort team. The video quality on this unit is subject to more interference, but in order to mark the mirror exit, a receiver system is placed through the mirror. Subject leaves the car and now travels with the escort team. Given the myriad of possible options, they are instructed to simply move to the closest building and attempt to enter it. This building has etched glass doors bearing the name XEA Research Partners Incorporated, and the doors are ajar. A magnetic lock system is present, but has lost power. Team enters the building and main lobby. This area resembles a stereotypical corporate lobby. There is a C-shaped receptionist desk with a chair pushed far from it, as if it was left in a hurry. A PC terminal is at the desk as well. Team approaches the desk and the camera bearer is instructed to examine the PC. The unit does appear to have power, and Faithful OS appears on the screen, requesting a login and password. A keyboard is present, but is remarkably slim, with touch-sensitive keys rather than press-down keys. After one failed attempt, the lock screen replies that maximum attempts have been exceeded, and the PC turns off. No actual tower or power button can be located, so team moves forward. Behind the reception desk are two elevators, one to the left and one to the right, with similar touch-sense keys. The elevator on the left is broken, the door open, and the shaft empty. The elevator on the right appears to be functional and has power. Without a clear destination, the team is instructed to proceed to the highest floor to get a lay of the city. All floors appear to be accessible, with the highest being 114. In reality, 112, as 13 and 113 are missing from the keypad. Journey up the elevator is uneventful during this time. The elevator does appear to take longer as it passes by 13 and then 113, suggesting that the entire floor was built and nothing put on it. At 114, the doors open and the team enters a large lounge-type area. There are many couches with dust on them. A widescreen, apparently LCD TV of approximately 60+ inches in size dominates the wall in front of them with no power. A series of windows are open, allowing in sunlight at the far end, to which the team proceeds and angles the camera outside. The view of the city is astonishing. This building is one of the tallest visible, but certainly not alone in its stature. The city below is gray and silent. No evidence of life at this altitude. Some buildings in the city have a strange brown growth that appears to have been splashed against them, as if a gelatinous mass was flung and then seeped down before hardening. Other buildings have floors where the glass has been shattered and the same brown substance is seeping out the edges. One member of the team calls the camera bearer to the windows on the other side. From the other side of the building, city edges can be seen. Attention is pointed towards an expressway. Then it circles the city, upon which crawls another of the large half-body humanoids, dragging itself with its elastic arms as witnessed in previous tests. It travels the highway, then moves out of sight. The team returns to the elevator and notes that a button has already been activated on floor 74. No one has approached the elevator, so the team agrees to travel to this floor. On the 74th floor, the doors open and reveal a waiting area to what appears to be a doctor's office. At the reception desk, there is a sign-in sheet with a series of names and dates. The dates on the sign-in sheet all carry the year 1953. A PC at the receptionist area is on and functioning at a user desktop. The background for the PC is a large set of praying hands with the word Faithful OS underneath them. On the desktop are a series of folders with years on them containing files that, when clicked using the center button of the mouse, open to a word viewer. All files appear to be appointment information. On the desk is a notepad titled, "From the Desk of Dr. Bereziski, Blessed Purificationist." The door to the doctor's area is sketched with the same name and title, as well as a crucifix. Opening this door leads to a white, dust-free hallway that has 2 examination rooms and a key-coded door at the end. The examination rooms are unremarkable and typical of any doctor's office. All medical cabinets are empty. A small amount of C4 is placed at the lock to the key-coded door at the request of control and then blown, forcing the door open. The area it opens into is much larger than the reception area itself and seems to contain a series of large containment capsules. There are a total of 6 of these capsules. 2 are broken, and a brownish amber material coats the floor coming from them. 1 is empty. The last 3 have nude humans floating in them with breathing masks. Attached to the front of these tubes are medical charts showing vital signs and conditions. For symptoms, the charts explain, in somewhat awkward English, ailments that seem more like flaws of personality or character, or just incidents that have occurred with the patient. Control asks for a zoom of one of the patient pages on the chart. After focusing, it reads, "Citizen Jennifer McZurka, that did suffer a lapse of the heart that did lead to her to lay with her neighbor twice upon nights of her husband's departure from their home. Patient did submit herself into the Lord's and our hands for cleansing of mind and body. Prayer administered by High Father Ualakan, and patient submitted to a 3-day period in the Lord's tears to cleanse her system, then released in good spirits." The topmost page reads, Citizen Alberius Farafan struck out at a high father during sermon, blaspheming that the Lord's tears did turn his daughter to be unright in mind and heart, thusly laying blame for her whorish activities at the feet of the High Father and his blessing. With no proof of these blasphemies, the forgiving judge and the punishing judge did agree that Alberius Farafan should bathe in the Lord's tears himself for a week, to be cleansed of mind and soul, thus to prove his daughter's ways are fault not of the Father's hands, and to give him peace of self. Subject, who has been traveling quietly with the escort team, now begins to panic. The camera pans to focus on him, and he is surrounded by entities similar to those witnessed in the first two tests. Escort team reports in that Subject is having a panic attack, but Control requests them to stand still and wait. Subject screams at the entities, which are denied to exist by Team Commander, stating Subject is alone in the corner. Control requests that one team member be dispatched to approach and recover the subject. The escort team member approaches the subject as ordered. On the video, the figures part to make a pathway for the approaching member, who lifts Subject to his feet and brings him out of the corner. Figures on the video are seen closing ranks to close the path. Subject is lifted to his feet by an arm and escorted through the figures. Change their ranks when the subject is moved. They remain steadfastly staring at the subject no matter where he moves to. Control requests the team return now. Team turns to leave. Before leaving, a team member mentions something noticed at the reception desk. A binder labeled The Lord's Tears. Control requests binder be returned as well, and is stowed into Subject's field kit. The team returns to the elevator and returns to the ground floor. Upon leaving the building, Subject points down the street toward direction of entry point. The camera pans to a section of raised expressway, across which one of the large torsos is crawling slowly. The entity turns its featureless head to look at the escort team, raises its head to the sky, and emits a bellowing sound. Team leader issues the order to move, heading for the spot marked by the wireless video receiver. The creature on the expressway extends an arm down that stretches to touch the ground before the camera moves to the port. All team members save one move through the entry point. Subject moves through entry point, and mirror returns to reflective surface. SCP-93 is dropped by Subject, who panics and tries to fight his way out of the room. Subject is terminated by leader after he draws the field kit pistol. Team leader requests portal be reopened, but it takes several minutes to find someone who can hold SCP-93 and generate a similar color. When a matching color is displayed and applied to the mirror, the video receiver is visible and all individuals report a horrific smell. Team leader moves through the entryway with the control person. The uniform and possessions of the escort team member who was left behind are present and recovered. But the member himself is nowhere to be seen and does not respond to shouts. Member assumed killed in action, and wireless receiver recovered. Control and escort return through entry point, and mirror returns to reflective surface. Later review of the recovered camera shows escort member grasping at the air where the entry point should be, and then turning to look up at the oversized torso. A brown gel seems to drip off the creature as it moves, that disappears shortly after being dislodged, as if evaporating. Several shots are fired at the creature's face with the automatic weapon carried by that land in the face of the creature, causing a spray of less viscous brown liquid to pour forth from the wounds. Screams obscenities as the face of the creature descends upon him, and the camera is pushed to the ground. Camera feed remains dark for approximately 65 seconds before light comes back, and the camera films the creature crawling back to the expressway and pulling itself onto it, and then crawling in the direction it was originally headed, believed to have been absorbed by the creature and perhaps digested. This may have been an example of how these unknown entities feed by direct contact with living material. Further study is recommended to be avoided on this issue. Returned ledger filed as... Okay, this is mirror test 4, color yellow. D-class subjects no longer authorized for testing. Testing focus has been shifted to data collection after analyzing the articles brought back from the previous 3 tests to better understand the fate of the world accessed by SCP-93 and determine if safeguards or practices are required for our own world. Analysis of the brown fluid on the clothing of the lost escort team members has been found with other recovered articles. Dr. has volunteered for this test as, out of the possible candidates, he was able to cause SCP-93 to undergo a new color change. There is no evidence of Dr. background of any illegal or criminal behavior, nor of any psychological problems. When presented to the mirror, the view changed to that of a cubicle office environment. For this test, Dr. opted to use the wireless video system and forego the pulley return system, stating he was confident he would be safe as none of the torso creatures had been witnessed within a building where the mirror's destination showed. Video feed commences after Dr. has crossed the mirror. As with prior tests, SCP-93's current color, yellow, tinges all video material. Camera flickers to life and pans across a series of plain white cubicle constructs. Approximately 30 are visible. At the far end, from the point of entry, is an office module built into the wall with frosted glass walls and a glass door. Dr. approaches this door and investigates the etched writing on it. Senior Manager, Stanley Milovitz. The door is unlocked. Dr. enters the office and examines the desk. A coffee cup is on the desk, a dark brown stain covering half of the inside as the liquid evaporated. There is a donut on a plate, which Dr. picks up and lobs at a wall. On impact, it thumps like a rock and falls. A file cabinet in the corner of the room draws Dr. attention, and he goes through each shelf one at a time, stopping in the second drawer and taking out a file, then going back to the first and taking out 2 others, continuing to the third and fourth drawers. He withdraws 4 additional files and spreads them all out on the desk. The files are blue filing folders. He points with his finger and camera at a symbol on each of praying hands, stating aloud for the camera that all other files are stored in yellow folders. The blue folders are placed in his field kit. Camera attention is turned to the PC on the desk that is logged in and functional. Dr. comments aloud, wondering where these devices are getting their power from, as he has noticed no power outlets. This PC's desktop contains the logo of Faithful OS and even has sounds. Clicks of the mouse followed by soft hymn-like hums, and opening of icons followed by angelic bells. The PC fails to yield any useful information to Dr. who abandons it and leaves the office. Approaching the other end of the office, Dr. presses a button on the wall for the elevator and enters, finding he is on the 34th floor of a building, having an unusual number scheme. The keypad layout goes from -115 to 115 and includes all floors. Before pressing a floor button, Dr. requests that the wireless video transponder be moved to the elevator and replaced with a construction cone to mark the entry point. A second transponder unit is placed outside the elevator, and Control is instructed to recover the second unit and seal the test chamber should something happen to him. Then, when all is arranged, he presses the button for floor -115. The descent down the elevator is long, consuming 15 minutes. During this time, the camera experiences one malfunction where the image jerks and turns to snow, restoring to show 14 other figures in the elevator with Dr. as the video pans around, all of whom move as he moves to allow him space. They remain for 35 seconds, and then the camera flickers to snow and returns. Dr. is now alone in the elevator, dancing, as is assumed by the ducks and sways of the video feed. Dr. pauses to comment on a rising stench coming from below. At this point, the elevator has reached floor -108. Dr. presses -110 to interrupt the descent down and exits when that floor is reached. The elevator doors open to an enclosed observation deck with several PCs and chairs. All PCs appear to have power. The ceiling to this deck is also glass, and above it another deck is visible. Dr. approaches the monitoring stations and checks one of the PC screens. On the screen is the Faithful OS logo and a video feed toggling between 4 different views. The first view is a room of tubes similar to those found in Test Violet, which number in the thousands. The second view is a closer up view of these tubes, as a camera glides in front of each to monitor the contents. All tubes the camera passes by are broken. The third view is facing the opposite direction as a camera glides vertically, checking each observation station. A total of 10 can be counted, and Dr. is visible as the camera passes by his own station. Looking up, a hovering camera unit with no visible means of propulsion glides up past him. The fourth view shows the ground floor below the observation deck, where a single astonishingly large torso is crawling in circles, bumping into walls and changing directions. From the camera feed to the creature's estimated size is 6 stories. Returning attention to the contents of the PC, Dr. Gears moves the video log aside to see a simple text editor that was hidden behind it. A printout of this text was recovered and filed in the field kit. The printout directed Dr. to a safe on floor 54 and provided a combination. Dr. leaves the observation deck and proceeds to 54 without event. Arriving on a cubicled office floor, he proceeds to the desk mentioned in the document and found a safe hidden beneath a desk undisturbed. The combination provided opens the safe and reveals a notebook filed in the field kit and a peculiar revolver that has been returned as, in addition to the 24 rounds of ammunition found with it. Dr. proceeds back to the elevator without event and returns to 34. Given the sheer number of floors available to explore and the vital information obtained from the observation deck, the test is considered over and the equipment retrieved. Before returning through the entry point, Dr. investigates a terminal nearby that has power and finds it shows the exact same screen as the one on -110 shows. It is theorized that the author of the note installed a network virus to propagate through the building, so any PC on that network would be found and the information discovered. Dr. returns through the entry point and the mirror returns to a reflective surface. All materials filed with other SCP-93 recovered materials. Analysis of and the ammunition for it postponed for reason that it would require deconstruction of one of the rounds, and they may be beneficial until testing of SCP-93 is resolved. Video ends. And finally, mirror test 5, color red. SCP-93 distributed amongst staff until a new color could be generated by contact with it. Service technician was able to cause SCP-93 to take on a fierce red hue and glow, much brighter than the object's normal color. Agreed to assist with a test of SCP-93, per Dr. request, given to technician for use in this test. When applied to the mirror for the test, SCP-93 generates an unknown environment. No color tinge appears present on the displayed destination, which is comprised of red stonework. Technician enters the mirror and the video capture begins. Video flickers to life, and technician, known hereafter as subject, is viewing a large cylindrical pillar that is rotating on its own. Object is of unknown height and appears to be 1.8 meters in width. Holes are distributed throughout the object at seemingly random intervals. On occasion, a beam of white light is emitted from these holes. Turning of the camera finds that the beams are connected to a multitude of objects similar to SCP-93 that are part of the room's wall. The room turns out to be cylindrical in shape, with countless copies of SCP-93. Subject turns back to entry point and finds it is a section of the wall that is missing its copy of SCP-93, presumably the one carried with subject. Other sections of the wall on inspection are also found to be missing their copies, leading to speculation that this may be some sort of central array. The subject finds a ladder in the floor while examining the room and proceeds down it at Control's request. The ladder exits into a large clean room, full of computer equipment that appears antiquated compared to previously encountered equipment. Large computers running on reel-to-reels are clicking and spinning at various locations. A light bulb of unknown meaning turns on for 10 seconds, then turns off. A large CRT monitor is displaying single words in 8 colors at roughly 5-second intervals. While observed, the words clean, unclean, clean, clean, lost, unclean flash on the screen. Proceeding through the room, it ends in a large glass window as another observation deck. This deck looks out over another series of tubes as witnessed before, but far fewer, and filled with blue liquid. What appears to be electrical current dances over many of the tubes at erratic intervals. At least 5 tubes at first glance, are empty and broken. The observation window, a keyboard is present on a pedestal, awaiting a selection to be made. The options available on the screen are Tube Status, which waits for numerical input, Reports, Situation X549, Situation X550, Evacuation Log, Bullshit, Agent Report, and Facility Fire Plan. The rest of this video was expunged. All selections that generated text were transcribed by subject and verified by a control member who passed them through the portal to recover them. This process took approximately 2 hours, and video feed was deleted to condense this report. Recorded documents are filed at video interrupted. Control lost contact with the subject approximately 30 minutes after departure of control tech. Subject was asked to remain in area and observe the machinery and the containment room and make observations for debriefing. The SCP-93 mirror portal returned to a reflective surface prematurely, and all video contact with the subject was lost. The control was unable to re-establish due to SCP-93 being across the mirror. A time lapse of 1 minute and 48 seconds was recorded before a mirror portal re-established itself and subject returned through the portal. Subject appeared to be in good health and condition despite the time loss, but spoke little. During immediate debriefing, subject underwent sudden convulsions, and medical staff was alerted. While attempting to subdue subject, he displayed enhanced strength and used to shoot one of the debriefing staff, killing them. Guards shot the subject once with a sidearm in the heart and once in the chest, but the subject did not fall. All staff evacuated the room, and a second shot was fired by subject, which missed. A more heavily armed team entered the debriefing room and used automatic weapons to dispatch the subject. Reports confirm that subject did not bleed when shot, but instead leaked a green-brown substance that seemed to be a mix of solution observed in some containment tubes and the material recovered during Test 3. All further SCP-93 tests have been discontinued, while review of materials recovered is in effect. A secondary tape recording device was found to have activated in the field kit after loss of video feed, and its contents have been filed with other recovered materials. All recovered materials from SCP-93 testing are Level 4 classification. Release must be approved by no fewer than 2 Level 4 personnel. Staff with acceptable clearance, please sign in with Dr. for access to the materials recovered from SCP-93 tests. Well, that's it. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. Hopefully, I'll see you all soon. You're all dismissed. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Researcher Miller, and the SCP we're going to be studying today is SCP-3199. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. All live instances of SCP-3199 are to be contained in Site-114 within a Keter humanoid containment chamber, the walls of which should be coated in approximately 2 cm thick, acid-resistant steel. 2 meters of empty space are to be allocated between this chamber and secondary containment. Secondary containment consists of suspending all live instances of SCP-3199 inside a solid block of strong, transparent substance, currently clear acrylic resin. The block is to be at a height of at least 3 meters, with 1 armed security guard stationed directly outside initial containment at all times. An 8-digit passcode can be obtained from the current Site-114 director in order to access the initial containment chamber and allow for up-close examination of SCP-3199's behavior and appearance. CCTV equipment is, however, installed in one corner of the containment cell for remote observation. Secondary containment is to be regularly examined for damages. Any sign of aggressive activity will be noted, and the current Site-114 director informed at the earliest possible convenience. A temporary recall procedure is detailed in Addendum 3199-3. Experiments involving the use of live SCP-3199 instances are strictly prohibited without approval from at least 2 personnel of Level 4 security clearance or above. As of December 6th, there are 4 present and contained instances of SCP-3199. Description: SCP-3199 is a sentient humanoid species of a currently unknown biological origin, though tissue samples suggest traces of domestic chicken and chimpanzee DNA. Instances of SCP-3199 are hairless, stained with a thin layer of albumin, and stand at an average of 2.9 meters. Weight averages from 180 kilograms for a matured instance, and 360 kilograms for a hatchling. The necks of SCP-3199 appear dislocated and are capable of twisting approximately 340 degrees, presumably due to the nature of SCP-3199's reproductive cycle. SCP-3199 are opportunistic hunters, engaging with live subjects within a currently unidentified radius has been stricken from the document. Within a radius of 0.9 kilometers surrounding hatchlings that have not yet reached full adolescence. Average speed is recorded at 25 kilometers per hour. Upon contact with human or animal subjects, SCP-3199 will proceed liquefying internal organs and bone structure. The cadaver is then transported to the young and utilized as a form of nourishment. Instances of SCP-3199 have been observed producing large eggs of an off-white coloration and rubbery appearance. These eggs pass through the entity's stomach, esophagus, and eventually out via the mouth, followed by a red viscous substance, first thought to be a form of placenta. Chemical breakdown has determined it to be a highly corrosive material. SCP-3199 shows extreme distress throughout the process, with personnel describing the sound as not dissimilar to a scream. Presumably due to a biological ingrained method of avoiding extinction, SCP-3199 produces its eggs to fill available space. The anomalous property currently has no known limit, and as a result, may pose an LK-class species transmutation scenario. Termination of SCP-3199 can be performed with relative ease. However, a complete eradication is currently impossible, which has been stricken from the document. Difficult, as all instances of SCP-3199, regardless of age, carry one egg inside their stomach, ensuring survival for at least one member of their species at all times. Egg samples have proven to be extremely resilient, lacking visible signs of damage after subjection to extreme blunt force trauma, extensive pressure exceeding 180,000 psi, high-precision blades, serrated and non-serrated, and finally, long-term acid exposure. Use of point-blank explosives was suggested, but never tested. Heat exposure has been determined to accelerate hatch rates, and thus detonation may run the risk of a containment breach. See Addendum 3199-4. SCP-3199 was issued Keter classification on October 6, 2017, following the events of a containment breach. SCP-3199's original water containment method was disassembled and replaced with the current resin solution. Addendum 3199-1. 2017-05 dispatched the following notice regarding SCP-3199. All experiments involving SCP-3199 egg samples are strictly prohibited until further notice. Hatching periods have proven too unreliable to warrant extensive research, and as the consequences of a containment breach become more and more apparent, The O5 Council have collectively decided to eliminate risks at the source and prevent testing until new information surfaces. We thank you for your cooperation. SCP-3199 was discovered in Ireland after reports of an unidentified, bald creature crying like a banshee from within a dense woodlands resulted in the dispatching of Mobile Task Force Omega-19, Omelette. 2 personnel were lost in action, their internal organs and jaws having been almost entirely dissolved. During transportation, SCP-3199 produced 2 offspring, resulting in the deaths of a further 6 personnel, and the following is stricken from the document. It is entirely unknown as to how the first instance of SCP-3199 came into existence. A thorough examination of the original capture site is currently undergoing confirmation. See Addendum 3199-2. Addendum 3199-2. 2017, a thorough sweep of SCP-3199's initial recovery location was performed in an attempt to uncover any further information regarding their origin. Locals claim that the small remote residence in question has been established in the woods for several years. Surface Team D-29 recovered several items of interest, including 1 bag of assorted thread and needles of various colors and sizes, approximately 13 chicken carcasses, based on the collective halves and quarters, with precise incisions located on the underbelly, neck, and thigh. 6 of the carcasses had been plucked, with visible human teeth marks lining the bare areas seemingly at random. Several containers, including water bottles and Tupperware boxes, holding an unidentified watery paste. The paste is deep brown in color, and the presence of oxygen becomes viscous and hard. Substance is currently awaiting chemical breakdown. An A5 notebook, brand, and heavily scratched with what was determined to be human fingernails. The words, "Open when we are pure," are written on the front. And finally, 2 chicken feather quills. The notebook itself consisted of 24 pages of standard lined paper, written in non-anomalous black ink. 19 of these pages consisted of various cuboid patterns and crude childlike illustrations, vaguely resembling SCP-3199. On the remaining 5 pages, large lines of writing detail the diary of an unnamed individual. Most of what was written was found totally illegible. However, one extract in particular, dated the 6th, 1973, was written with notably higher clarity. If you're reading this, then lucky you. 1 millionth hour from naught, and it'll be fun, and the wonderful versatility of inferior human DNA will give birth to a new era, a stronger ear, one where, and food and water will be nothing but things of the past, as we will make and make and make more until, for the better future. I really haven't much time, that's why I envy you so. You'll have all the time you need. Time will be a thing of the time will be on, and death will be life. Life, new life changes, lives, and brings smiles like a freshness. New life will be a part of life from now on. Yeah, that was kind of tough to read. The final page consisted of several ink blots, 13 instances of the word life in various sizes, and 2 instances of the words, "Didn't you want this?" Addendum 3199-3, Protocol 3422-B, Poached. Regarding the recontainment of SCP-3199, the following procedure will occur in the event of a breach. On-site personnel with Level 1 security clearance or above assume standard lockdown procedure and immediately move to Site-113 unless instructed otherwise. Site-114 is to be filled entirely with distilled water treated with Class A sedatives. Surface Team Tango 306A will be notified and dispatched and instructed to retrieve any instances of SCP-3199's eggs. Any living instances of SCP-3199 will be terminated on site, and their remaining eggs will be collected. All egg samples are to be transported to a temporary off-site containment. And finally, Site 114 will then be drained, and janitorial staff dispatched to thoroughly clean the area. Personnel attempting to breach Site 14 before this inspection is complete will be apprehended and suspended accordingly. Note: some personnel have displayed skepticism regarding the necessity of SCP-3199's current breach protocol. To elaborate, we have reason to believe that fluid is an excellent counter to SCP-3199's anomalous reproductive properties. It appears to enter an inert state in the presence of liquid, regardless of thickness or clarity. There are two theories regarding this occurrence. Number 1. SCP-3199's need for survival demands all of its attention to focus on not drowning. It's possible we have found a loophole within its own nature. Number 2. SCP-3199 considers the liquid around it as full space, and as a result, does not produce any young when submerged. The latter theory holds more water, as SCP-3199 appears to be totally inactive when submerged. For now, I believe I speak for all of Site 114 when I say it's a relief to at least have a consistent method of containment. Dr. Watt, December 5th, 2017. This is Video Log Interview 3199-1. Interviewer, Dr. Ewing. Interviewed, Lance Corporal Duncan, leading captain of Mobile Task Force Omega-19, first to capture and detain SCP-3199 during initial recovery. Forward. Subject had undergone extensive psychiatric therapy prior to interview, and whilst not considered responsible for the deaths of Private McLeod and Corporal Langley, admitted to having not performed the necessary precautions. Playing log now.
Take a seat, right? Please, if you would. The job was pretty simple. No auditory or visual triggers that the eggheads in Site 114 knew about. Seems to me as if they'd done a pretty top job scraping the area clean. Never is that easy, though. Oh man, we landed around 2100 hours. The boys and I had been told that if we couldn't catch the thing, the next best thing would be snapping a frame or two. So they hooked us up with the best in night vision hardware. I know you have pictures, Ella. I know you've got something. You're under no obligation to view the recording. No, I know that. Just show me a little. Please, go on. We found something within the hour. Almost like a shack. Totally out of scrap metal and wood. Looked more like an oversized chicken coop than anything else. But I don't know that your new monster built it. Just made it a home. And I assume you entered as soon as possible? Of course. It was a late shift. Wanted this over as quick as possible. I'd like to say that's why I did it, but I can't bring myself to make excuses. I really fucked it. Now, pardon my French. It's perfectly appropriate, all things considered. However, I'm going to have to ask you to continue explaining the procedure. Right. Well, I had two of my men stationed at the back. Private McLeod and Captain Langley insisted they take first charge. Fresh out of training, they were. Kids. I should be used to it now, but... Never seen a smile get cut down so quick. It knew we were there. Somehow. Jumped right at Private McLeod and... the fucking teeth out of his head. I see it whenever I blink. Man, that's the shit that stays with you. I assure you, the Foundation will make every measure to ensure financial comfort for the families of your lost men. Could you elaborate on the other casualty? Duncan, please, I have to urge you to continue. The more we know, the more we can do to stop it from happening again. We barely had time to react before it started necking it down the corridor to the right. I guess the adrenaline had just about hit me because I fired off enough rounds to blow a chunk out of its chest. Just as its ugly head was about to hit a corner, I saw... I saw straight fucking moonlight on the other side. Bullseye. Thing let out the most awful scream. I have a beautiful little baby boy at home, Doc. You know that?
Irrelevant discussion of domestic life isn't necessary for this procedure, Lance Corporal. Could you please...
I have a beautiful baby boy who just loves wailing when he's too cranky to sleep. And you know what? Every time he does, I think about that scream. See it pop it into my head. Think what it did, and his pa gives him a look as if he's gonna bash his fucking head against the wall. We're good men. Please, Noah. Kill that monster. If for no one else. For me.
And this log has a note from Dr. Ewing, which reads, I wish the very best to the families of those lost during SCP-3199's initial recovery. Furthermore, I would like to formally request that Lance Corporal Duncan is administered one Class B amnestic at the earliest possible convenience. No excuses. Dr. E. Ewing, Site 114 Director. Addendum 3199-4 Experiment Logs. Experiment 3199-A. Intense heat exposure. Subject, 1 egg sample from SCP-3199. Method, subject relocated to a secure containment cell. Inside temperature of the cell was gradually increased at an average rate of 7 degrees Celsius per minute. Results, after approximately 9 minutes, the egg ruptured violently and produced a single hatchling. On-site personnel reacted swiftly to recontain the newborn instance. However, the excessive internal temperature impacted the physical growth of the young instance, and it reached adolescence at an accelerated rate of 40 seconds. As a result, the now adolescent hatchling produced 2 further instances of SCP-3199. On-site security response was swift, and all 3 instances were detained. All future heat testing involving SCP-3199 egg samples has been forbidden until further notice. Experiment 3199-B, Liquid Nitrogen Bath. Subject, 1 egg sample from SCP-3199. Method, subject submerged entirely in liquid nitrogen. Security remain on standby throughout the procedure, after concerns regarding another unexpected outbreak. After approximately 45 minutes of exposure, SCP-3199 had reached -190 degrees. Following 2 hours of exposure, the egg sample was removed and placed under extreme pressure. Results: hydraulic press peaked at pressures of around 9,000 psi. Cracks appeared 30 minutes into exposure before the sample shattered. Egg fragments were collected and furthermore pressed into a fine pulp. 0 traces of albumin or yolk were located. Incineration of these remains proved successful at destroying the egg in its entirety. Postscript. As Dr. Ewing once put so eloquently, let us not allow these small victories to distract from the larger picture, and whilst you may find the time to celebrate this discovery, we will not excuse apathy towards the entity itself. Dr. Watt. Experiment 31-C, Chemical Analysis of Shell. Sample, 10 grams of finely pressed eggshell pulp, taken from an SCP-3199 egg. Results, detailed chemical breakdown shows traces of nacre, enamel, and a currently unidentified carbon compound. Microscope analysis suggests that the shell itself is composed of tightly packed, organized crystals. Practical use of this material is currently undergoing consideration. Alright, that about does it for today. Thank you all for listening, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye. I would like to give a special thank you to André Bichert,